Hi everyone, I'm Rashi Jain from NCRA TIFR and I'm going to present my work which is the discovery of a grand design spiral galaxy at the redshift of 4 with JWST. So at the time that it was discovered, it was holding the record of the highest redshift spiral ever discovered. But now there is another one at 5.2, and so in the background you can see a spiral galaxy imaged by Hubble and JWST. So here in the Hubble image we see that there are only stars and all the disk and everything, but here we can see all the dust lanes, and so that's how JWST is different. So now I'll just talk about what was the case before the pre-JWST era. So earlier it was considered that these galaxies are rare in the universe, and most galaxies beyond the redshifts of 1 are either peculiar or spheroids. And galaxies are, at these epochs, galaxies are dynamically hot. So which tend to form clumpy structures rather than well-formed rotation dominated disks. And for density waves to emerge that can produce spiral arms, we need cold disk with low velocity dispersion, and they should be rotation dominated. And using HST data, only 2 spiral galaxies were discovered at a redshift of greater than 2. But now the number is increasing, but still it's not that high. So here we can see the comparison of JWST and HST filters. You can see these are JWST filters, and bluest one is around 9 micron. It goes all the way up to 4.4 micron, while this is HST ACS filter, and these are one of the one of the deepest filters of HST, and they go only from 0.5, 0.4 micron to 0.8. There are some HST filters that probe this region, but these are much shallower than JWST, so these are not really useful. So, but why is JWST different? JWST provides us unprecedented resolution and sensitivity in near infrared, and because of this wavelength range, it allows us to find the optical rest frame at redshifts greater than 3, and only in the optical rest frame we can see the underlying disk of a galaxy and other features. In UV, with HST we can sample only UV, and where we only see the brightest stars like O and B type stars. So with many, after JWST has come, a huge number of disk population has been discovered at redshifts of greater than 3. Earlier it was supposed to be almost 0, but now it's known that these galaxies dominate the galaxy population at these high redshifts with around 60%, 40 to 60%, and hot disks are there, but cold disks are also available at these redshifts. So this galaxy was discovered in the uncovered data, which is in Abell 2744 field, and it has a full NIRCam coverage, and many medium band filters are also there. These are the broadband filters. So we have named it Alaknanda. So it's because it's a spiral galaxy, and Milky Way is called Mandakini in Hindi, and Alaknanda is a sister river of Mandakini, which is tributary of Ganga. And so we identified this galaxy in a larger study of morphological properties of galaxies in the high redshift of 3 to 8, and out of that sample in uncovered data set. So uncovered data set has 70,000 objects, and in redshift greater than 3, this was the only galaxy that showed a very prominent spiral structure. There is also a candidate satellite galaxy here in this galaxy, and our photometric redshift is around 3.98 and the spectroscopic redshift is available for the candidate satellite galaxy, and that is 3.97, which is in agreement with our photometric redshift. So here these are 2.5 by 2.5 arc-second cutouts taken made using JWST data. So these are the NIRCam shorter wavelength filters. Here we have used F090, F150, F200W as our blue, green and red channels, and these ones use 444W, 356W and 277W. So since these are the shorter wavelength filters, so we can see that the galaxy is kind of fragmented, and we see mainly the star forming regions. But when we go to the longer wavelength filters, like that I was talking about earlier, we are able to see the optical rest frame. We see the underlying disk, and so this galaxy is visible. And one more thing I want to add, this galaxy is not, it's almost invisible in the deepest HSD observations that are present at in this field. Here you can see different cutouts of these galaxies, and this red line indicates a 1 kiloparsec scale, and on the left I have written the rest frame wavelength in nanometer, which each filter is probing, and you can see that as we go towards the shorter wavelength filters, our galaxy becomes fragmented and it is almost invisible, which is why the HSD was not able to see it. And when we go to the longer wavelength filters, the arms are continuous, and there is one satellite galaxy also, which might be the reason of the formation of spiral arms in this galaxy. So for our analysis, we carried out stellar population synthesis using bagpipes, and we used the data in all the NIRCam and broadband filters, and we used data in one HST filter also. So this code basically generates model SEDs based on the given photometry and the priors that we give on input parameters such as stellar mass, redshift and star formation rate. And after that, by Bayesian inference, it derives joint constraints on photometric redshift and other stellar population synthesis parameter. We are using two types of star formation histories here. One is exponentially decaying SFR, and one is delayed exponential, which is more physically motivated, which means that star formation rises in the beginning and at the later times it falls exponentially. This is a SED that here this orange curve shows the model, best fit model with bagpipes, and these blue points are our observed fluxes, and orange points are model fluxes that bagpipes has calculated. And we are also seeing interesting features such as this H alpha line, O3 line, and there is a Balmer break, there is a Lyman break, and this is all consistent with the redshift of this galaxy. So basically it's a large spiral galaxy with a diameter of 10 kiloparsecs. It's massive, it's highly star forming, and that is why it is similar to the spiral galaxies that are present in the local universe. And our photometric redshift posteriors are quite tight, which are constrained by observations in 21 bands. So this is another proof of our redshift. So this filter probes, this filter is able to see H alpha plus N2 line, emission line complex at this redshift. So these are the continuum subtracted images. And here we can see that the line emission is coming from throughout the disk. And this is also consistent with our redshift. We also carried out bulge plus disk decomposition, morphological analysis of this galaxy, and we fit a Sarsic profile to the bulge and exponential profile to the disk, and this is the residual that we find after subtracting the model, and you can clearly see that there are spiral arms, and its bulge to total ratio is also very small, which means that it is definitely a well developed disk at this redshift. So now we have to think about like what led to the formation of this galaxy. So there are two scenarios, cold disk scenario and hot disk scenario. So earlier it was believed that the cold disks are not present at these redshifts, but now they have been discovered up to the redshifts of 7. So what can happen is that these cold disks, hot disks get fragmented, and then those clumps get dissolved over time, and then stable disks are there in which spiral arms can emerge via, for example, quasi-steady state density wave theory. And there is another hot disk scenario in which tidal interactions or bar interactions can also lead to the formation of spiral structure. And as I have told earlier, in this case we have a candidate satellite galaxy, so which might be responsible for the by tidally interacting and forming spiral arms in this galaxy. So this is the conclusion. So now in the contrary to the belief that was there because by HST, it is now clear that the disk population is there at high redshifts, and it is quite significant also. And we discovered a grand design spiral galaxy at redshift 4, and with 2 SPS codes, bagpipes and prospector being in excellent agreement for its photometric redshift. And now the question that we have is that what is the mechanism which is responsible for the origin of spiral structure in this galaxy? And for that, we plan to put a proposal in the next cycle of JWST to get the NetSpec IFU observations of this galaxy, and we can also get a line map of this galaxy using ALMA using C2 line. Okay, so thank you.
Questions?
Hi, Rashid, thanks for a nice talk. A quick question on the distribution of the morphology is based on the masses of galaxies. Could you study any of these, like, because you said 60 to 40% excess, what are the mass distribution of the stellar mass distribution of these galaxies, depending upon their morphology?
Depending upon their morphology. Yeah, so actually in this redshift range, so in the local universe, we have this situation that ellipticals are much more massive and everything. But at these times, these ellipticals and peculiar galaxies, they are just forming. But the disks are much more mature and evolved systems. So when you go to the larger mass side, there are actually disk galaxies that are more massive, but the other type of galaxies are smaller in mass.
Maybe we can discuss this a little later. Thank you.
Hi, Rashid. Sorry, thanks for the very nice talk. I have a very naive question. So you say you'll use this NetSpec IFU observations. Can pipes and prospector be used for those spectral energy distributions? For those, do you know this?
IFU analysis cannot be done using bagpipes and prospector. So
Then you need another
Yeah.
SED generator. For
I'll
this.
need another code. I'll basically get the line maps, and based on that I can find out whether it's a rotation dominated galaxy or a velocity dispersion dominated galaxy. So that is the thing that I'm trying to probe using these observations, and this will help me to understand the mechanism of the origin of spiral structure in this galaxy.
Thank you very much. Thanks.